4 decades, the Titans of Thrash remain the standard by which all other metal is measured. We begin with a 1984 classic from their second album, For Whom the Bell Tolls, followed by the 1992 tour anthem, Wherever I May Roam. And now, let's turn down the house and light up the stage with the Auburn University Marching Band and their show, Metallica.
The 2025 schedule is finally here for Auburn football. And boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about it. We're going to go through the dates, the games, the matchups, where they are, when they are. All that's coming up on this reaction live stream. Oh, let's get into it. War Eagle, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we talk about the Auburn experience. What is the Auburn experience? Well, we define it as a few things: Auburn sports, Auburn family, topics, and Auburn culture. An easier way to say it is if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So thank you so much for joining us in what we do this evening for this live stream reaction show. Auburn's 2025 schedule is out now, and we can begin to make our plans. Literally getting notifications on my computer as we speak from Auburn telling us that it is out. So we finally got to see it all. Where Auburn is going to play, when Auburn is going to play, and now you can start setting your calendars and your plans and your wedding dates, I guess, if you're going to be planning a wedding in the fall, for what you're going to be doing on Saturdays in 2025 and when you can plan to be on an Auburn. So we'd love to hear from you. This is a reaction stream after all. As you're coming into the stream, let us know that you're here by smashing that like button. Also, make sure that you let us know that you're here with the War Eagle, and maybe start out by letting us know your favorite game date or something like that. If there's a favorite matchup or where it's going to be, when it's going to be held, let us know that just to get you started off this evening, and we'll get rolling with some of your comments and questions as we get throughout the stream tonight. Let me address a couple of housekeeping things. This is mainly for people in the live portion of the show. If you're on the replay, ignore this part unless you want to go watch what we're going to talk about. We are scheduled to do our Auburn Family Night live call-in show right after this. I'll need like a 2-3 minute break to switch some things over, and that will go live as soon as we're done with this. So switch on over there as soon as we get done here. Don't miss out on that. It's going to be fun. We'll continue the conversation there about this as well, too. So that is coming up for you. Lots of people checking in with us to talk about and examine, react, exclaim, offer opinions about all the different things. We appreciate you guys joining us for that. Let's talk about it. So what I'm going to do is Auburn just put out a graphic, actually, right before I went live. So we're going to utilize that. So this comes courtesy of them. We will switch our gears over here and show it on the screen now. Important to remember that there are 2 open dates. I know that is very frustrating. I do not like having 2 open dates. Thankfully, I think the next year it'll be off of this schedule where we're on 2 open dates. I hope we're not going to that permanently from this point forward. Maybe we are. I don't know. But there you have it. We knew the non-conference opponents, and we knew essentially all 4 of where those were going to be. I think that had already been confirmed. What was left to be confirmed this evening on the SEC Network and ESPN broadcast was when Auburn and other SEC teams would play and where. So remember, for the focuses of this stream, we're only going to be talking about Auburn. I know there are a lot of opinions to be had about other teams out there. We're going to just simply focus on Auburn's schedule for this one because this is more of a initial reaction information show. So let's go through it a little bit. September 30th of 2025, Auburn will play at Baylor, the Baylor Bears. I am hoping to be at that game, by the way. Then we will come back home for week 2 to take on Ball State. Kickoff on the plane, South Alabama. Right after that, I can bet you $1,000, not officially, that will be homecoming, unfortunately, unless we want to return the favor about 3 weeks later. Oklahoma on the road to open up the SEC play on September 20th. Texas A&M right after that on the road, September 27th. A bye week. Georgia is your SEC home opener in October. Let that sink in, the timing, just all around that. Missouri right after that, so 2 home games back-to-back. That will be on October the 18th. October 26th, back on the road at Arkansas, back at home for Kentucky And that is listed at November 1st. Yes, November 1st. Sorry, it's a little blurry on my screen over here. Vanderbilt on the road, November 8th, bye week after Vanderbilt, and then November 22nd, back home for Mercer, and then right after that, the Iron Bowl, the game of all games, the rivalry of all rivalries. And there's no question about it. Sorry, I'm going to get some people stirred up with that, but most people here will agree with that statement. So that's your schedule. Let's hear it. What do you think? Thoughts, questions, topics, comments? I'll offer some of mine in our short time together, but I do want to at least let you guys have some sort of say here today. This came in from Unbeaten Lake to start off. Easy schedule, I want to say, but we lost to most of these teams last season when I called it easy. I do not think this is an easy schedule. I do not think this is the most difficult schedule that Auburn has ever faced, but I do think that this is a more favorable schedule compared to what we had last year in layout of it. Now, there are some unfavorable things about it, but I definitely wouldn't categorize it as easy. There is no easy road in the SEC. I'm glad you put the caveat in there that we lost to the teams there that you might think. Justin is excited about having Alabama and Georgia at home. Always helps, especially if Jordan Hare is rocking. Not if, it will be rocking. For the first SEC home game in Georgia, that's going to be rocking. The last home game, the last one of the season, that's going to be rocking. We're going to have, those are the bookends for your SEC schedules. Remember when we used to complain about them being back-to-back? Can't complain anymore about that because literally at the opposite ends of the spectrum over each other. Some other comments coming in. Nike game versus Baylor. Yes, it will be Nike versus Nike. For those of you that are super excited about that. A little bit of sadness coming in. Jan says, miss seeing LSU. I have a feeling you'll see them next year. Or excuse me, the year after this. So keep that in mind. At least we don't have 3 or more straight away SEC games. That's the big thing. What did we talk about all this year and lament about? 5 straight games at home in the sweltering heat, and then you don't see Auburn in the month of October. You'll see Auburn in the month of October. And it's a nice spread out game. So unfortunately, there are some things that have to swap in the schedule that maybe won't be as favorable, how it starts in SEC play maybe, but I think you can obviously be excited about that. Kokomo says he'll be at the Baylor game. Look for me there. I hope to be there. Devin says, kind of lame that our conference games are the same as this year, just flip. Wish we could have some different matchups. I think what they're going for, Devin, and I think you knew this was already going to be the case. We've been talking about it for a while. This is the going plan for now, is that they're going to go through this cycle of you play everybody for 2 years, flip-flop, and then you get to play everybody again. Frankly, I'm okay with this because we get to see people like Florida, like Tennessee, more often than not, than we used to. It used to take 6 years to see Florida and then another 6 years, so 12 years to see them at your place or go to their place, the opposite of what you did the first 6 years. So I like this a lot better. Certainly, I understand that it kind of makes it like, there's no excitement there because we know what we're getting. But yeah, sounds like we're going to be planning a meetup at Baylor because several of us, including myself, are making plans to go there. I'll be taking my daughter to her first game next year, so I have to choose wisely which one I want to take her to. Yes, and there are going to be some great matchups here on the Plains, Georgia, Missouri. Obviously, you've got your Ball State, your South Alabama, Kentucky, Alabama, or brought that up, and Mercer are going to be the easier ones to get into, but the tickets are going to be pretty pricey this year. I think the general season tickets were $525. I'm expecting them to break 600 this year, and I probably will be paying it. So there you go. All right. I've caught up in most of y'all's comments. Keep them coming. We're doing a shorter version of this live stream just because we are backed up to our normal scheduled program, which we will be doing right after this. So make sure you switch over there after that if you're watching live. Let me offer some opinions here from my end. I've kind of touched on a few of these. It is a tough beginning for Auburn. You got to go on the road to Baylor. We don't know what Baylor is going to look like next year. I think they're still retaining their head coach, but he'll be in a crunch time year. So, he's going to be extra motivated on that. I have family connections out there, so that's going to be an extra special game for me. I've been out to Baylor's campus before, so at least I'm not completely oblivious to it and all that stuff. But you got to go on the road to Baylor to start the year. Yes, you get to come home for 2, hopefully, cupcakes. And then you got to go start the SEC in Norman. Now, this is great. The fact that we only have 2 games in the sweltering heat of Alabama in the early part of September, early to mid-September. But you got to go to Oklahoma, and then you follow it up with Texas A&M. This is a tough way to start the season. For those of you that are part of the faction that is looking for reasons to yell at Hugh Freeze, you might find it because you might struggle to begin the year. I'm not calling for a loss at Baylor, but that's a tough way to start at Oklahoma and at Texas A&M. Oklahoma, yeah, they're down last year. Doesn't mean they will be next year, but it's still going to their place. Then you got to go to Mike Elko and Texas A&M, who were pretty formidable at times last year. We gave them everything they could handle and then some, and they gave it right back, and it took overtimes to get that done. So that's a tough way to start. And then let's just talk about the opening SEC game at home, Georgia. So you got to go at Oklahoma, at A&M, back at home versus Georgia, and then you get a break. Whew, excuse me. Actually, the breaks in between all that for the Georgia thing. That's still a tough way to start. You don't really get a true break in terms of competition level. No offense, Missouri and Arkansas, but you will be lower in that category as far as we know right now until Missouri and Arkansas. I mean, that's a tough way to start, folks. It is a tough way to start. Only you got 7 home games this year, and you have 5 away games. So I think we had, was it 8 home games? I could be wrong, but I think we had 8 and 4 last year. It usually is that where we go away to some better non-conference opponent and then come back. So keep in mind that Baylor, this schedule will be different likely the next time we get to reveal the 2026 schedule, but Baylor will still be on there for that return trip, which will be nice considering that then we'll go to Georgia and Alabama. Anyway, let's focus on 2025. What else? Anything else stick out to you guys from this schedule initially? Obviously, we're not going to be done talking about it tonight on our Auburn Family Night live stream. We're going to talk about it some more, but want to, especially for those of you that are on this particular stream, get your opinions in now. We go west to Texas twice. Yes, good to point that out. And Oklahoma in the first 5 weeks. And then you got to go back to Arkansas. So Auburn is just going on a Western tour of the SEC pretty much the entire year. If the only thing you're missing is Missouri, which we did last year. Obviously, you could count, I guess, LSU in that too. You're missing them a little bit, but you're getting all your Western teams out of the way in this year's cycle. Again, 2 bye weeks. Very important that it comes right after A&M, 2 SEC games on the road, and then Georgia. How do we feel about the first SEC home game being on October 11th, week 7? I think that is for the schedule. Is anybody upset about that? I saw some people online pitching a fit about that. And when I say pitching, I don't mean that like you don't have a reason to be upset about that. It's a little questionable. I think I always look for in these schedule reveals something that I would have done differently. I probably would have flip-flopped and given Georgia and Auburn the September 27th and the A&M game after the bye week. I think that right there would have almost perfectly fixed everything. And there's not much else that you could do because then you would have away, home, away. Excuse me. Yeah, away, home, away, home, away. Yeah, it would basically be flip-flopped. And that's your perfect schedule, right? Like, so you don't have to don't get me wrong. As much as I lamented about 5 straight home games in the sweltering heat of Auburn, Alabama this season, it was great to just be there for 5 weeks straight. It was awesome. I loved it. I couldn't ask for a better thing to do for a career. Absolutely adored it. But there is something to be said about having that week off for travel, especially for someone like me that travels there for each home game to cover it for you guys and stuff. So this is much better, much more favorable. There will be twice that you get to go back to. Actually, the way this lays out, you'll have back-to-back home games for Ball State and South Alabama, back-to-back home games for Georgia, Missouri, back-to-back home games for Mercer, Alabama, with only one by itself, that being Kentucky. I don't see too much to be upset with. I think your biggest gripe is the fact that A&M and Oklahoma are what you start with on the road, and Georgia is the first SEC home opener. That's a tough way to start your SEC home opener. The October stretch is not as bad next year. Hopefully by mid-October we will have at least 5 wins. It's going to be I will put this to you. If Auburn gets into the Missouri game that's 6 games they will have played with 5 wins, I think they're going to have a good year. If they do that, this is a much less favorable start to the year. However, you will be tested early. You will be pushed earlier. Hopefully, you will be a lot healthier earlier as things start to mount up throughout the year. It is a tough stretch. I don't see somebody talking about going to Texas, whether it be for whatever sport. You're going to have to get used to this. Going to Texas a lot is a new thing in the SEC for A&M, for Austin, and different sports. It's going to happen. Okay. Final initial thoughts, questions, comments, topics on this schedule. Drop them in now for this stream. We will continue the conversation here in just a few minutes on our regularly scheduled Auburn Family Night live stream, but don't miss your opportunity here. Let me give you some reminders just so that you're aware of what we got coming up here at E2C Network next. As I said, right after this live, jump on over to our Auburn Family Night live stream. You can find it on YouTube and Facebook. Other stuff this week, we've got Auburn versus Iowa State live stream after the game here in Atlanta. So join us for that. Auburn Experience Podcast, episode 106. Live recording will be 9 Eastern time this Sunday evening. So don't miss that either. And we'll have a lot of other content. And we're not done talking about this particular schedule reveal. Austin and I will be talking about it on the podcast. I may even do a different breakdown of it or videos about it or whatever. We'll see. When you get big information like this, there's a lot to discuss and break down. This is just our initial reactions and trying to digest all of these different things. So much to be excited about with the 2025 schedule. Unbeaten Lake says, I just hope we can start 3-0 when we get to Oklahoma, 4-0 when we get to A&M. Otherwise, we might have a bit of a struggle. I think you would do well as the Auburn fan base to prepare yourselves for I want to say high possibility, but at least a 50-50 shot of having a rough start. Oklahoma, you got Baylor to start off the year at their place, Oklahoma, A&M, and Texas. You just flip-flopped your rough October for a rough September, very, very beginning of October. So it's going to be tough there. So all of that being said, I am excited. My favorite probably point of the schedule is going to be that rough patch, that Oklahoma, A&M, and Georgia. If you guys have any other opinions, be sure to always drop them in our chat. Thank you guys so much for stopping by for this initial reaction video. Hope you enjoyed it for those of you that caught the replay, and hope to see several of you on the live portion over on our Auburn Family Night stream starting in just a few minutes. Thanks for hanging out with us. Get excited for 2025. 2024 just ended, but the next season is just around the corner. War Eagle.